तद्वस्तुनि प्राप्त तदात्मभावा निष्ठैव सद्दर्शनमित्यवेहि यत्रोदिते सर्वमुदेति तस्य धियाहमशोधय जन्मदेशम् अहं रूपम् इदं समस्तम् तन्मार्गणं सर्वजयाय मार्गः विचारधूता हृदि कर्तृता चेत् कर्मत्रयं नश्यति सैव मुक्तिः सा एव मुक्तिः मुमुक्षुलोकाय मुदं ददाना अमानुषश्री रमणीयवाणी
सत्प्रत्यया किन्नु विहाय सन्तम् हृद्येष चिन्तारहितो वाक्यः कथं स्मरामस्तममेयमेकम् तस्य स्मृतिस्तत्र दृढैव निष्ठा मृत्युञ्जयं मृत्युभियाश्रितानाम् अहं मतिर्मृत्युमुपैति पूर्वम् अतः स्वभावात् अमृतेषु तेषु कथं पुनर्मृत्युभिः सत्प्रत्यया किन्नु विहाय सन्तम् हृद्येष चिंता रहितो हृदाख्यः कथं स्मरामस्तम् अमेयमेकं तस्य स्मृतिस्तत्र दृढैव निष्ठा. Before we go into the anubhava of Bhagavan's teachings in Ulladnarpadu, I would like to ask the group members a question, that whenever you are in trouble, whenever the mind is in some confusion, some 2-3 thoughts are coming and they are not aligned, and suddenly you remember Bhagavan's statement, Auravar Prarabdha Prakaram Adarkanavan Agangirundu Aativippal. The ordainers controls the destiny of individuals. Now when you recall this, or when someone in the group points it out, what happens to your mind? I'll repeat that. When you are in a state of confusion, or when 2-3 non-aligned thoughts are coming, or you are dealing with a problem which you are taxing your mind too much, and either you remember this teaching of Bhagavan, Auravar Prarabdha Prakaram Adarkanavan Angangirundu Aativippal Again Maunamai Irukkai Nanru. The ordainers controls the destiny of individuals. Hence, the best course is to remain silent. When you hear that statement, what happens to your mind?
It goes silent.
We become peaceful. The confusion goes away.
We become peaceful.
Stillness.
Confusion goes away.
Stillness.
Stillness. The mind becomes still. It's the same thing. We are all agreed on that. Correct. There is no disagreement. It is the experience of all the devotees that when we remember Bhagavan's Upadesham to Amma, the mind becomes quiet. It becomes still. The thoughts go away. We decide we will not get into the tussle of trying to align these thoughts. It becomes still. Actually, what happens with Saddarshanam is you are going to get at least 42 such statements. All these 42 verses are 42 restatements or statements from a different angle of that Upadesha. That means whenever you remember any one of these shlokas, you are going to be removed of all kinds of confusion. The mind is going to be still. The mind is going to be taken to stillness, just like that statement of Bhagavan to Amma. These are 42 different statements, apparently made from different angles, but all aimed at one thing. That when you actually, what is the Anubhava? When you meditate on these verses, any one of the verse will make your mind still. So Revamma was telling, I was reading some of the content in the commentary, but it requires more reading for understanding. What is real understanding? When each of these statements starts stilling your mind. Just like that Upadesham of Bhagavan, we don't have any confusion. No devotee will have confusion about that statement of Bhagavan to Amma. That when it is all happening according to the ordainment of Ishvara, it is absolutely ridiculously foolish to think, to unnecessarily waste our thoughts, because what is going to happen is going to happen. How much ever you try to stop it, what will not happen will not happen, how much ever you make an effort to make it happen. Hence the best course is to remain silent. These are going to be 42 additional astras for the devotee. Through Jnana Marga, the Anubhava will be that whenever one of these statements come, your mind is going to be still. No, that is the understanding. Understanding is not poring over 2-3 pages of commentary and trying to complicate your mind, not trying to analyze the statements and see their connections and see where one connection is linked to another. These are not the uddesha of going through these sessions. It is to understand that any one of these shlokas, when you do manana, your mind should come to quietness. The same quietness which we as devotees get whenever we remember Bhagavan's Upadesham to Amma, same, that is meaning that you have understood that. Till then, we have not understood that. We are still, suppose we are explaining the statement. So whatever explanation I am going to make is only to lead us to that you understand it so completely that that statement in that verse makes our mind quiet. Any one verse independently taken, meditated, you use how many other statements to explain it. Ultimately, when can you say you have understood it? When you come to the same silence as what you get as devotee when you listen to Bhagavan's statement on the Ishvara's ordainment. So this is the test that we should have for ourselves. So whatever I am going to discuss, that is not the ultimate. The ultimate understanding is, have I, on listening to and meditating on this verse, have I come to stillness? Have I come to peace? So now we go into the second and third lines, which form one instruction. The first line we saw Satpratyaya Kinnu Vihaya Santam, which means Ulladala, Ullavunar Ullado. We saw that that gives two meanings. One is Bhagavan is giving us the guarantee that there is an Ullapurul. How much ever we are going to struggle, how many ever wrong turns we take, there is an Ullapurul which is shining within us, which we are definitely going to reach. That is the Adhara for all our struggles. And Bhagavan's Upadesham is going to take us directly to that. Then, in the second part of the first line, he says that Ulladala, Ulla Unarvu Ullado. Ulla Unarvu, we saw that means the Unarvu, the feeling or the knowledge or the awareness of Ullapurul. That means we saw that is the Spurana, that is the I, which is the revelation of Ullapurul. Now, this is actually the statement in Upadesha Saram where Bhagavan says that, where in the 20th verse, Ahaminashabhaji, Aham Spurati Hrutswayam, Paramapurna Sat. The Paramapurna Sat will rise and shine as Ulla Unarvu, as I, when the ego, the I thought vanishes. Now, that means there is an Ulla Unarvu. There is a feeling of eternal existence which you know that this is there. But Bhagavan is saying that I cannot be apart from Ullapurul. That Spurana also cannot be apart from a simple existence. A very, very simple existence, which is the Adhara for the ant, which is the Adhara for the Jiva, which is the Adhara for the Ishvara. Isha Jivayor Veshadhibida Satsvabhavato Vastu Kevalam. That means this Purana or the ego or the ant's existence, all are supported by Sadvastu. Isha Jivayor Veshadhibida. The ant and Ishvara are different in their body and their knowledge. But as far as existence is concerned, they are one and the same. Ant and Ishvara, no difference. That is why Bhagavan is saying here, Ulla Unarvu cannot exist apart from the existence that gives support to the ant. It is a very simple awareness of existence, which each one of us, if ant is having, all of us are having. And do we need, the question is, do we need the support of anything to know that we exist? Can anybody answer? Do we need the support of anything?
No, we don't need it.
We don't need it. See, this is the critical part of understanding, that in each one of us, Ulla Unarvu is there. Sometimes it is dull, sometimes it is strong, sometimes it is enthusiastic, sometimes it is, but Ulla Unarvu doesn't go at any point of time. Now, do we need a secondary support to prove that? That is not required. Now, this Ulla Unarvu cannot be apart from that Satvastu which supports me, which supports the ant, and which supports the Ishvara. This is the understanding that Ulladala, Ulla Unarvu, Ullado. There is a Satvastu. The Satatma, the Mayaham. The I is called as Mayaham in Arunachala Aksharamanamale. That is in 2-3 places the Mayaham term is used. Mayaham means the real I. Arunachala's self is called as real I. In Upadesha Saram, Bhagavan says in Tamil, Aniya Bhavatil Avanahamagum Ananiya Bhavame Undipara Anaithilum Uttamam Undipara. It is translated differently in Sanskrit, but in Tamil, Aniya Bhavatil Avanahamagum Ananiya Bhavame. That means in Arunachala's self, there is no I and another. Because the entire creation is his body, there is only I. In Ishvara's self, there is no I and another. Do we call any part of our body as not I? No. We call, including the nails, we call everything as I while talking. That means in Ishvara, there is no feeling of, there cannot be any feeling of not I, because the entire creation is his body, is he. So, Avanaham Magum Ananiya Bhavame. In the Ishvara self, there is no Anya Bhava. There is only I. That is why it is called as Purana. That is why it is called as Ulla Unarvu. So, Ulla Unarvu is not apart from Arunachala's self. Now, that Ulla Unarvu is not apart from Satvastu. That is what we saw in Upadesha Saram also. In 23rd verse, it is said, Ulladunara Unarvu Verinmayin Ulladunarvagum Undipara. That means Sattva Basika Chitkva Vetara Sataya Hichit. That means in that verse Bhagavan says, to experience the self, the Unarvu cannot be apart from it. That is, the Ishvara who is shining as I cannot be apart from the Satvastu. He has to be one with the Satvastu. That is why Sattaya hi Chit, then Chittaya hi Ham. He'll say that the Chit and Sat are one and the same. The final experience is awareness and existence, they merge in one. That is the first statement. That what we see as Ulladunarvu, this is what Bhagavan will say in Aksharamanamale, Nyamalil Keda, Nanen Nurudiyai, Nadinin Urven Arunachala. He says that I know that I exist. There is an Ulla Unarvu. Just like for the ant, for Ishvara and for me, there is an Ulla Unarvu. But this Ulla Unarvu is now going to receive a thought which the Ulla Unarvu may get distracted and go after. What Bhagavan says in that verse is, like a dog who is going to trace the master using the scent, I am going to hold my Ulla Unarvu and reach your Ulla Unarvu. I am going to hold my Ulla Unarvu. I am not going to go away with the thought. I am going to ask for whom is this thought? Hold the Ulla Unarvu. Hold the Ulla Unarvu. Hold the Ulla Unarvu. Till the self of Ishvara is revealed. Nadi nin uruven Arunachala, he says. So this is about the first line. First line is Ulladala, Ulla Unarvu, Ullado, Satpratyaya Kinnu, Vihaya Santam. The Satvastu and the experience or awareness or feeling of the Satvastu are one and the same. Now, how is this one and the same Sat existing? That is what is explained in second and third verse. That is, in Sanskrit it is, this Ullavastu or Satvastu is Hridyesha Chinta Rahito Hridakyaha Katam Spramastam Ameyam Ekam. Ulladala, Ulla Unar, Ullado. The second and third is Ullaporul, Ullalara, Ullatte, Ulladal, Ullamenum, Ullaporul, Ullalevan. Up to that we are going to see. I will read the Sanskrit again. Hridyesha Chinta Rahito Hridakyaha Katam Smaramastam Ameyamekam. That means that Sadvastu, which is one and the same as the experience of Sadvastu or the knowledge that there is a Sadvastu, it is existing Hridyesha, in the heart, taking the heart as the seat, Chinta Rahito, without thoughts. Hridakyaha, it is not only, heart is not only the seat, the Sadvastu itself is called as the heart. Hridyesha Chinta Rahito Hridakyaha Katam Smaramastam Ameyam Ekam. Now, Ullate, Ullalara, Ullate, Ulladal, Ullamenum, Ullaporul, Ullalevan. That means, who is to meditate on that which is beyond thought, or how to meditate. I will repeat that. That Ullaporul or that Satvastu is existing in the heart and is called as the heart without thoughts, free of thoughts, or where thoughts cannot enter. Who is to meditate on that and how to meditate? The two sentences we are taking together, which is pointing to one meaning, is that Bhagavan is saying that the Satvastu, how it is existing, what it is, and what it means to meditate on that and how to meditate on that. He is saying that the Sadvastu is in the heart. Anybody needs explanation of heart? I don't think so. So I'll go ahead. He is in the heart, the spiritual heart, and it is called the heart. Now, how it is there in the heart and as the heart? It is there completely free of thoughts. There is absolutely no thoughts. Now, the next statement is Katam Smaramastam Ameyam Ekam. Now, in Tamil, how it is mentioned is who is to meditate on that and how to meditate on that. This is very interesting statement. This is an Anubhava statement. He says that if you want to experience God, see, God is Sadvastu. This should be very clear for all of us. He is not talking anything other than God. Satvastu is God. If you want to experience God, you cannot use thoughts. Because how is God existing? God is existing without thoughts in the heart as the heart. Katam Smaramastam Ameyamekam. Ullalevan, who is to meditate? Evan means two meanings. Bhagavan says to Lakshman Sharma that it means both who is to meditate and how to meditate. Why he is telling like that? This who is also a thought, the I thought. How to meditate is a path of thoughts. So, can anybody tell me? See, suppose I have gone through many experiences in my life. I have gone through many experiences in my life. I come to self-inquiry. I practice self-inquiry and find God in my heart, free of thoughts. I don't meditate on Him with thoughts. I also become free of thoughts. Now, what happens to all the stories I had about my life? Can anybody tell me?
They won't exist.
Yeah. Is anybody having a doubt about that? That I made a wrong turn here, I made a right turn here, this person helped me, that person helped me. Is it clear that that is not there? When you are experiencing God, as Bhagavan is saying, the whole story of your life, like a river merging in an ocean, its structure is completely validated. There is no part of your life which remains unvalidated, which you have to think about. When you experience God as thought-free state, because Bhagavan is saying, who is to meditate on Him, how is to meditate. So I am just directly taking you to Anubhava. That you don't have thoughts. So when you reach that, is there any part of your life that is not validated? No, the whole structure is not there. No, there is one more interesting point. You find that so-and-so is definitely a cunning person. So-and-so is definitely having devious mind. This person is really devilish. They are destroying all the spiritual sadhana of all the people. Now, this you are having before. But if you find God, as Bhagavan says, how is God existing? God is existing without thoughts, as the heart, and is called the heart. God's name is Hridayam. Now, Katam smaramastam ameyamekam ulla 11. Ulla parul ulla 11. Who is to meditate and how to meditate? You understand this and you go thought free. Whenever a thought comes, you leave it. You are not going to go because it's not going to give you any answer. And you reach the thought free state. We find that your life merges. There is no part of your life which you need to validate or say that this was right, this was wrong, I should not have done this, this I did correct. All that is gone. Is there any blame, any person, any other thing, any other stream of thinking as right or wrong? See, for many years after starting self-inquiry, I used to find that one of the previous methods I had followed, you had displaced me, had not placed me in the right way. I used to even tell Akka why some people are still following that, I don't know, like that. But then that got vanished. You can't say that this path is wrong, that path is wrong. When you are experiencing God as the thought free, there is no complaint. The experience is absolute stillness. Not only is your life validated, you don't find fault with God. You don't find a single blemish in God. You absolutely don't see any fault with God. You see that He is the absolute thought-free state. That is meditation on Him.
Nandakumar, this concept of puppetry, you become a puppet, right? Because we like you said earlier, when the choices come, you think, then you go quiet, and then life moves on, okay, and that continues to happen through life, and when you are in God, you realize that you were just a puppet, and the
Correct.
puppet show was happening.
That's a good suggestion. Shall we hold that? I'll just hold that. See, in our Bhakti Marga, in our discussions in Bhakti Marga, this is definitely a great support. And throughout India, even in small households, even in interior households, even in unpaired households, you will find that this support is there. That I used to meet a farmer from Chikberige in North Karnataka, where there are no waters. It rains occasionally sometimes. If he gets one crop, that's a great blessing. But whenever we meet, he will say that we are all puppets. Ishvara is the only puppeteer. So whatever he gives, we have to. That definitely gives you relative stillness of mind. But see, in the thought-free Hridayam, even that support is not taken. That Ishvara has the role of moving some forms in the form of puppets is not there. That Ishvara is having this role, this karma of moving various puppets from one stage to another, and he has good puppets, bad puppets, but he is the one energy which is flowing through. That support is also not there. So this is absolutely thought-free state. I move on. See, that is the anubhava. The anubhava of stillness is one of complete stillness. That there are absolutely no thoughts. Hridyesha chinta rahito hridakyaha. That means, who is to meditate? When no thoughts are there, can I retain my ego as an I thought and meditate on him? The answer is no. Can I hold on to a path? Can I hold on to say that I will do X, Y, Z, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 and then come? No. When you are experiencing God as the Hridayam, it has to be absolutely thought-free. That is the import of, that is the stillness that second and third verses give. Then the fourth verse says what it is to meditate then. What it is to meditate? Katam smaramastam ameyamekam tasya smriti tatra dridaiva nishtha. Ullalevan ullate ullapadi ullade ullal. That means just as the Atma is there, you be identified with that. You are the Satvastu. There is no difference between you and the you which started the enquiry is far gone. To be identified with the Sadvastu, which is even the Adhara for Ulla Unarvu, which is even the Adhara for the Spurana, which is the Adhara for the Meyaham. Sadvastu is the Adhara for the Meyaham. That means, who is experiencing this Purana, one should ask. Once you reach this Purana, there should be a stillness which should be an enquiry. Who is experiencing this Purana? Then Bhagavan says, like the fire that has burnt the camphor, once the camphor is all burnt out, how the fire dies down, this Purana also dies down. But that Purana is the Ulla Unarvu, it is the Meyaham. Even that doesn't need to shine like a fire when you become the Sadvastu. Sadvastu is even more quieter than that. So, Ullate, Ullapadi, Ullade, Ullal. That means to identify with that there is no Beda Bhavana. Beda Bhavanat Sohamiti Asav Bhavana Bida Pavani Mata. There is no Beda Bhavana in that Sadvastu. So I will repeat the Tamil verse and the Anubhavam. How the Mangala Shloka begins is Ulladala Ulla Unarvu Ullado. Ulla Unarvu, we saw that is the awareness of eternal existence or Spurana, or in simpler terms, it is the Ulla Unarvu inside each one of us, that we all feel we exist and we don't need any outside support to prove this. Now, Ulladala, Ulla Unarvu Ullado, the Ulla Unarvu cannot exist apart from the Sadvastu. How is the Sadvastu existing? Sadvastu is existing free of thoughts in the heart and is called as the heart. There is no way an ego can meditate on it, retaining the ego or holding on to a path. Then what is it to meditate on that? To be one with that. Here, first one support concept Bhagavan gives, that there is the illusion of serpent and rope. That is a support Bhagavan gives in our meditation. See, directly telling that Ulla Porul is without thoughts is difficult to comprehend right in the beginning. As Venkatesh said, we can take a support like that it's a puppet show, the stilling. Then we can ask the question, who is having this thought? Who is having this thought that Ishvara is running everything? That can be one of the methods in which you can drop that support and go to the thought-free state. But Bhagavan gives us some supports. He tells that be very thorough with the example of snake and rope. Can I spend some time on that? See, this is a very traditional illustration or example, but we have to bring it to a thorough understanding to come to stillness. Bhagavan says that see, the common experience that the thoughts lead to is that there is a Jagat, there is a Jiva, and there is an Ishvara, and these Triputi appear in waking and in dream, but they disappear in deep sleep. Now this whole scenario, he says that thinking of God, world or the ego, and thinking of waking, dream and deep sleep, this is the snake. These are all made of thoughts. These are all made of thoughts. That is, what is all made of thoughts? The world, the Jiva, the Ishvara, the waking state, the dream, deep sleep. That means, how can you ensure that deep sleep is also made of thought? Can anybody tell me that deep sleep is also a thought?
Because when you wake up, you say you slept well.
Exactly. Exactly. That means you can remember it as a thought. That I slept. Probably you may say I didn't know anything there, but it can be covered by a concept. It can be covered by a thought. So Bhagavan says that all these are thoughts, but in Hridayam there is no thought. So they are actually the Hridayam. They are actually the Hridayam, but we see them as this flow of various concepts. What are the concepts? World, Jiva, Ishvara. These three appearing in waking and dream, but disappearing in deep sleep. All these are concepts. All these are the snake. We see these concepts because we are not quiet in the heart. Because we are not thought free in the heart. That is called, actually they are all the self. They are all the Sadvastu. The Triputi of Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara also goes in the thought free state. But to see the thought free state as the manifestation, as these things, is to see the rope as a snake. That means when you see the rope, you don't see the snake. When you see the snake, you should be sure that you are not seeing the self. When you are seeing the non-self, you should be sure that you have not reached the thought-free state. See, this was a confusion I used to have in my sadhana days. I will spend a little bit of my time on that. I used to reach thought-free state even in Krishnaji, even in Krishnamurti's practice. He used to tell, if your intellect is stilled, if you don't attribute good or bad, then you can drop thoughts. You can drop thoughts if you don't say that the thought is good or that thought is bad. And I used to practice that meticulously. And I could very easily drop the thoughts. That the thoughts would drop away if I stop saying. Say, I used to have a problem, but when the thoughts of the problem comes, I will not say it is good or it is bad. Then the thoughts will immediately drop away. There used to be other thoughts, but the moment I stop commenting on them as good or bad, they will drop away. At one point, within 2-3 months of practice, I had reached the thought-free state. But that is not the thought-free state which Bhagavan is saying. Because I had not worked out the sensory world at all. That was a thought-free state of the mind alone. I had not worked out that the waking state, the dream, deep sleep, Ishvara, Jiva, Jagat is not there. That I had not worked out. I had gone to a type of thought-free state which did not cover these concepts. Unless you cover these concepts and understand that they are also thoughts, and in the thought-free state they do not appear, you have not reached the thought-free state which Bhagavan is saying. This was the critical difference I had in 2004 when I had reached in Krishnaji's practice. I had reached the thought-free state, and I knew I was in. There was thought-free state. There used to be bliss in that. But I also knew I was not conflict-free. There was still some pressure in me. So I knew I had not completed my task. And before going to the national seminar in 2004, I was literally in tears. Why I am so close to the truth, but I am not able to finish it. I am not able to come to the finality because there is still something breaking. I was in the thought-free state. I was experiencing that. I could experience bliss, but it used to be replaced by some conflict. That is when there was a sincere prayer that why is this happening? That is when Bhagavan appeared as Who Am I? In a completely unexpected way, the Who Am I's importance came back to me, and I started practicing. That is when I realized this thought-free state is not a flimsy thought-free state of leaving your thoughts and coming to silence. It is understanding that the Ishvara Kalpana itself is to be transcended. Bhagavan says this in Saddarshana Bhashya to Kapila Shastri. Kapila Shastri asks Bhagavan, what is the experience, what is the bodily experience you get when you go towards the thought-free state, when you go towards the self? Bhagavan says it is bliss, bliss, bliss. When you go there, you are absorbed by that which is totally bliss. So you go towards a center where you identify with the center, you lose your conflicts, you lose completely all these attachments to name and form. There is absolutely no care in the mind. The experience is one full of bliss. There is an enjoyment, there is a joy as you journey towards the self. Then you realize that you are the self. There is absolutely no difference between you and the self. That is the experience you get, Bhagavan says. That means when you transcend the thought-free state which Bhagavan says, the rope which Bhagavan wants us to see is that where the whole of waking state, dream, deep sleep, and the concepts of Jiva, Jagat, and even Ishvara as a concept is to be transcended. That is what is Hridayam, according to Bhagavan. In Hridayam, this self, Isha Jivayor Veshadibita, Satsvabhavato Vastu Kevalam, Veshahanataha Swatma Darshanam, Isha Darshanam Swatma Rupata. We have seen in Upadesha Saram. That means the difference between Jiva and Ishvara is only of the form and the knowledge. Both these are upadis. Veshahanataha Swatma Darshanam. Bhagavan gives one rule whether you are Jiva or you are Ishvara. The rule is one. There is no difference in rule. Whether you are the lowest Jiva, whether you are Indra, Chandra, or any deity, or you are Ishvara himself, Bhagavan's Upadesha Saram applies. Bhagavan's Ulladhanarpada applies. What does Bhagavan say? Veshahanataha. Whatever Upadi Vesha you are holding, drop that. Swatma Darshanam. Then you have Darshana of the Atma. Isha Darshanam Swatma Rupada. This is Darshana of Ishvara as the Atma Swarupa. That means he wants us to see the rope so clearly that there is not even the concept of God, that we should very clearly understand that not even the concept of God. God's concept is not an ordinary concept. It is the support of Bhakti Marga. It is the support of so many devotees. But Bhagavan wants us to consciously go into the heart of God. He says that aim only for the Hridayam, of Ishvara. Not even for his name, not even for his form, not even for anything in his creation. And it is full of bliss, he says. It is Sat Chit Ananda. Satyahi Chit Chittayahi Aham, he says. But that Aham gets destroyed and the Satyahi Chit is full of bliss. The journey is full of bliss. Because Ananda Swarupa, whatever we are enjoying as Ananda now in objects, Bhagavan says in Who Am I, is actually the mind going and experiencing Ananda of that Satvastu. When you are going after the mango as Venkateshji and I do when we travel to Tiruvannamalai, we stop in a particular place and we have mangoes. Bhagavan says, when you eagerly go after that and you get it, then the mind loses tension, he says. The mind which was after that, it was, I should get that, I should get that. It is there. As soon as I turn right in that curve, I am going to get it. Now, you get it. He says, the tension is over the moment your teeth sink into that. And when the tension is over, the ego goes and rests in the tapa, like a bow which has been released from a string. The ego which is released of this tension of desire, it goes right into the heart and enjoys the pleasure or happiness of the self. Bhagavan says that is how happiness, the object, the mango didn't have the, suppose the same thing I had lots of food on the way, that there is no desire for that, then the happiness will also not be there. So Muruganar says in Guruvachakukove, the happiness of a world object is only to the extent of your desire. If your desire is not there, then the happiness is not there. Because the anxiety resolved will be of very small nature, you won't go deep into the self. When the anxiety for the object is very deep, you go really deep into the self, but happiness is always of the self. Bhagavan says, why go around in this roundabout way? And you fight, you go between shade and sunlight, shade and sunlight like this. Go directly and remain in the shade, be in the Atmavastu. How is the Atmavastu? Hridyesha Chintarahito Hridakya. We saw the first line is Ulladala Ullavunar Ullado, Ullaporul, Ullalara Ullate Ullada, Ullamenum Ullaporul, Ullalevan. That is, as it is thought free in the heart, as the heart. Who is to meditate on it and how? So, this position is, as a support Bhagavan gives, that the illusion of snake and rope you should know thoroughly. That whenever you are in the thought-free state, the Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, waking, dream, deep sleep is not there. It is not the merely the thought-free mind which is still stuck in the sensory world. No. There is absolutely no seeking in the sensory world also in that thought-free state. The actions go on automatically. Bhagavan gives us another support. Like Venkateshji gave one support of the puppet show to the Jnani who is in the Hridayam. What is the Anubhava? When he is in the thought-free state, he realizes that all this is actually the snake. It is not the snake, it is only the rope. Then how does the work go on? It goes on spontaneously. It goes on automatically. Even the action that is going on so gracefully, he does not identify with name and form. He knows that that is all the self only. Fourth line is the meditation on this then is to identify with the thought-free state. Ullalevan, Ullatte, Ullapadi, Ullade, Ullal. To be thought-free and be the heart as the Ullapurul is to meditate on it. It is called as abidance. What we call in satsangas is to abide as the self. To abide as the self is to meditate on the self. Now this is the first verse. Any doubts on this?
The snake is also actually a representation of the rope, right?
Correct. See, this is why it is called as Adhisthana and Aropa. That is the Adhisthana or the substrate is the rope.
Right.
The Aropa or the superimposition is the three, world, Jiva and Jagat.
Right.
You are asking, is the snake also not a manifestation or a representation of the rope, correct?
Exactly, because it's the same thing like ornament and gold. The gold is there, okay, and the ornament is also got gold.
Correct.
But Bhagavan is saying, don't see the ornament, see the gold.
That is the support he gives. He gives that even when ornaments are seen, can't you see the gold? You can see the gold. But here the support given is of a different nature. That is what I am trying to drive home. See, those, see, in the ordainer statement, that is also a support. See, in the ordainer statement, no, we had the ordainer statement that the ordainer controls the destiny of all beings remaining within them. Therefore, that which is to happen will happen. Try what you may to stop it. That which will not happen will not happen. However much you try to make it happen, this is certain. Hence, the best course is to remain silent. Okay.
Right.
This we understand. Now, when we listen, we are coming to silence. There is no doubt about that in any of our minds.
Right.
Correct. This is called as holding on to a thought. We are stilling the mind.
Yeah.
We are holding on to a thought, but we understand that. We understand the import of that thought. The jiva is able to understand the import of the thought, but the I thought is there. I thought is holding on to Bhagavan in the form of this statement, and it is stilling its mind. There is no other thought which is coming. But in the first verse, the stilling which he is telling is even beyond this. There is no thought of that Upadesham to Amma. There is no I thought. There is no nama or thought or form of God taken. Okay.
Right.
Now, my suggestion from experience is that that stillness cannot be touched or cannot be disturbed by any force in any world.
But that's the point that Bhagavan is saying that I am not going to go anywhere. When he makes that statement, that means he is there, always he is there, correct?
Correct. He is the Atma, he is the formless one. In fact, that is a support he is giving us. Gently we can see that Bhagavan is giving a support which is without any support. This is called as in Devi Kalatram. I'll give you a concept. It is called as Niralamba. Did everyone get that concept? It is called as, the concept is called as Niralamba. Are you able to understand? Alamba means support. Niralamba means support free. That means it is not dependent on anything. So, when you are not dependent on anything, no, not on a thought, not on a concept, not on your ego, then only you are completely Niralamba. So, this is called as Niralamba sadhana or Arupa sadhana. But the advantage with the sadhana is that no force in any world, in any part of creation can disturb this stillness. Absolutely impossible. Because there is no structure for any power to attack and disturb. Whenever we are holding a thought and we are holding a stillness, if we have not completed the journey, there is always possibility of disturbance from a worldly event, from an atheist, or from a person who is out to question our path. But in the Niralamba Sthiti of the Ulladu Narpadu, absolutely no power, no incident, no outside happening can remove or touch or shake this conviction that this is God, that this is the Supreme Self, and that the Supreme Self has allowed me to merge myself with it. These thoughts are also not there. But the Anubhava is that. The Anubhava is that this is absolutely unshakable. Let any force from any world come. This alladasakagala. That is why it is called as Achala. Arunachala indicates the Achalata. That means it's absolute stillness, which is not shakeable by anything. It is absolute jnanam.
Right.
Anyway, with that, shall we sit for 5 minutes Atma Vicharam? नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय. From 97 onwards, the sadhana and meditation had gone continuously for 12-13 years. From individual side, we can call it sincerity, but really speaking, it is God's grace only.
Right.
There were so many points when if my old ego had been there, I would have dropped out. Every day there had been million points in which I could have dropped out. So any longevity in sadhana, we say God's grace is there. So in a long marriage, why we celebrate is that God's grace is there. And dharma, it turns our mind inward. See, only a dharma palaka can start self-inquiry. Who has followed dharma properly, only because dharma means you have to turn inward.
Right.
If you take the dharma of speaking truth, there is always a reference, am I speaking truth? See, if you take that dharma, no, your mind is automatically turned inward. So without being a dharmi, you cannot start self-inquiry, according to me. So as householders, we should be very good dharmis, and then only self-inquiry also comes naturally to us. So that is respected. It is not the rope is present inside the snake in many form, in continuous form. We should be able to see the rope continuously. What is it that has helped us turn inward? When our sons, children are doing that, we should be able to encourage them. No, this will help you to come to self-inquiry. You hold the dharma. So this thought-free state is the support of all dharma. It is not poo-pooing of dharma. Bhagavan will say, Ulaginikku Adharamai, he will say. Ulaginikku Adharamai Uruvatrarum. This formlessness is not a destruction of the world. It is the support of all sadhanas. So you can fearlessly go there. Because it is the Adharam on which all the sadhanas are there. You will really be able to support the other followers of dharma. You will be able to respect them and you will be able to support. So you can fearlessly follow self-inquiry and